So without further ado, today's goal is to equip us with some more of the fundamental concepts with which you can start implementing more and more dynamic websites. We are well beyond the point of HTML and CSS now, and we've begun looking, recall, at PHP, this actual programming language, as well as briefly on Monday, this database language called SQL. So realize that conceptually, we've been throwing a lot at you all at once, and they're all related, but they are all nonetheless autonomous languages and autonomous technologies that just happen to be commingled a whole lot together. And so MySQL, recall, is a very popular database in which you can store data in table form, in row form, and the like. Problem set 7, you'll find, or are finding, hopefully, really walks you through the process of using some database tables and the like. And you'll find that it's a very good stepping stone for any web-based final project. But there's even more that we can do. So let me turn us back to our copy of some of the frosh.im's code from the other day. I'm going to go ahead here and open up gedit. I'm going to go ahead and open up frosh.im's 5, which was one of the last ones we looked at. And recall that this had at least one nice feature, whereby in addition to checking, did the user give me their name and their gender and their dorm? Also later on, if they didn't, I was at least kind enough to not only yell at them with big red text, if there's an error, go ahead and display this div tag in red color. While we also later on, recall, added this little tidbit over on the right-hand side. These form elements can have value attributes that can themselves have some string inside of quotes. And so here we had post bracket quote unquote name, so that at least if I got my name right, I don't need to redo this. And this might seem like such a simple thing, but just imagine or take notice in weeks to come just how many websites don't do these very simple user conveniences. A very underappreciated feature of programming and web development is user interface design. And frankly, one of the reasons that so many of us are enamored with things like Android phones and iPhones and the like is because some companies do actually get this. And so keep these sorts of things in mind as you design your own projects. But HTML special chars, long though a function name it is, actually does have some compelling use. Why did we wrap post bracket name with this function call, HTML special chars? What did it do for us? Anyone at all? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's to ensure that users can't inject arbitrary code. In this case, they can't type like some HTML tags, or as we'll soon see, some JavaScript code that might then accidentally get executed on the browser. And now recall the simple example I did by outputting like a bold tag, open bracket B, close bracket, was kind of stupid in that the only one I'm really messing with on Monday's example was myself, right? All I did is make the web page look bad and broken to myself. But recall these things called phishing attacks and the spams we all get daily where there's links linking to websites. And recall, too, that forms can be submitted both by post as well as by get. And if you submit a form via get, that just means every piece of information is inside of the URL. So if you can store form submissions inside of a URL, and you can put URLs in emails like spam, well, you can trick people effectively into submitting forms. And one of the things you'll be able to compromise potentially if you don't distrust all user input in this fashion is people's cookies can be stolen. More on those today. And what does this really mean? It means if you're logged into something sensitive like your Facebook account or your bank account or the like, potentially some bad guy who's duped you into clicking some phishing email can log into your account and then do whatever he or she wants with your own access. So this is good practice and necessary practice these days. But this form was not all that user-friendly. If I go ahead and open up Firefox and I go to localhost/jharvard frosh.im's 5, we see this form here, and I can start to register. And let me give at least a dorm and click register. But it was only a partial improvement in terms of UI, user interface. Notice I did not pre-populate dorm this time, and that's kind of annoying, right? How do we actually do this? Well, unfortunately, we have to do it in a slightly different way because the dorm field, recall, was implemented not with an input tag, but with something called a select tag. So let me zoom in on the HTML for dorm here. And notice that drop-down menus are a little different. Open bracket select, you give the parameter a name, and then you have a whole bunch of options and values down, 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 down the list. And there's a dichotomy here, recall. There's the value of the option, and then also what the human sees. For simplicity, I did exactly the same thing. I put value equal to what the user sees, but you could have something different if you wanted more descriptive text, or in quotes, maybe even less descriptive text. But notice that there's no mention of selection here. There's no mention of value. So of course, when I reload this page or spit out the HTML again, it's going to forget that Matthews was selected. Somehow, what we need to do here is if I